Friday's live stroll with Azra. A little bit of a different one this morning. As you can see from the title and the picture, I wanted to talk to you sort of about my memories of 9/11, and I'll come on to that in a moment. Just talk to you a little bit about the weather today. It is currently about 12 degrees, and a little bit of a breeze this morning, nothing too bad. So if it is coming out on the old speakers on the phone, I apologise, but it is, yeah, it's a little bit breezy. Anyway, perfectly fine to be out and about, so we're good. Normal day out today, working day, and then may have to go with Julia to the Tesco's later. Don't know what the plan is. Reference that at the minute. Feel free to put any comments in the box, and yeah, we will crack on. So that particular day in September in 2001, obviously I was 21, and I just literally walked out of a job at Tesco's. They'd employed me to do a job, and it was basically what they'd employed me to do was completely different to what had been advertised on the tin, and yeah, it was just ridiculous really. And we just moved up to Royston, and I'd have to sort of hammer notice in at the petrol station because it was just too far to go on the money I was on. Anyway, that's a long story short. Basically, just got home and just put the television on. I'm pretty sure we did have Sky then, and I'll come on to. In fact, we must have, and I'll come on to that. The reason why in a moment. But I put BBC on, and I think I just made myself some lunch. It was sort of around lunchtime. Well, it was just after lunch, wasn't it? Because it was, it was sort of between 1:30 and 2:30. Sort of initially, everything started happening in the UK. That is. Bear in mind, there weren't sort of the rolling news channels then that there are now, and literally the BBC, it just cut in to this sort of news bulletin of obviously the picture of the first sort of tower on fire, or the smoke coming out, not really understanding at that point what had happened. And then sort of you were just fixated as to quite understand what had happened. And then obviously a short while after, obviously the second plane hit. And I think then most of the world understood exactly what was going on in all its sort of horrendousness. And, I think you can speak to anyone of a certain age and they will be able to tell you exactly where they were on that day, whether you were in America or whether you were anywhere else in the world. I think you could sort of definitely say where you were. And I'm not going to get into all the sort of politicalness of it and what have you. I'm just talking about my own sort of experiences of that day. And as you can see from the picture, we have been to the memorial site, but just finishing off with the actual day from a long way away, just glued to the TV, but for the rest of the day. And actually I went on to it was either CNN or Fox on that day on Sky, and that was a rolling sort of coverage, so you sort of were able to sort of keep up with what was happening to the best of your ability with the information that was being sort of given to the media. But yeah, I mean, just horrible feeling. And then of course when they both came down, it's just quite, looking back now, just quite a surreal feeling, a sign of absolute sort of strength and might, just taken. So moving on to when we went to New York ourselves. Now we went as recently as a couple of Christmases ago. We were there between Christmas and New Year, and I'd made it my ambition to definitely go. I'd spoken to Julia and James, we both went. And I said I want to go to the 9/11 sort of memorial museum. Just felt like something that you should do when you're in New York, and I'm so pleased we did. It was a very sort of quiet and respectful sort of place. Morning. No, just carry on. Come on, Azra. Good girl. So we actually went across the Brooklyn Bridge, I think earlier on in the week, and obviously we could see the new... Azra, come on. We could actually see the new World Trade Center, but we booked on the Thursday to actually go to the have a guided tour around the sort of complex and go to the museum. So I didn't really want to go there twice, as it were. I didn't think it would have the same feeling if we sort of went on the sort of the Tuesday and then go again. So I said, let's just, because we went to Wall Street, where the ball is, down to Battery Park. So if you know New York, you'll know how close we were. Azra, come on. Anyway, so on the Thursday, we had a 10 o'clock sort of tour of the site where we started off at the church, which is just adjacent to the sort of memorial site, and the museum, the new One World Trade, and also the new sort of shopping centre there. And the guy who did the guided tour, and I would imagine this is the same for a lot of them, they were sort of had personal sort of attachment to the day, and it was pretty in depth as to sort of what he was sort of telling us, covering. What I will say is, guys, if you are interested in some of the pictures we took of the day, do look at the channel. It was one of my first ever sort of vlogs I did. It wasn't a proper vlog as such. There is some videos, but it's more photos and what have you. But what I'll say, guys, is that when you walk up those stairs from the World Trade Center sort of metro, it's like no other feeling. The feeling you get when you sort of walk out, you just know the sort of good morning, sister. You just know the enormity of what's happened there, and you can just feel it. I mean, James's first comment was, you know, he couldn't quite fathom the size of the place, and you know, clearly he had watched a few bits and pieces before we went, so he sort of understood a bit more. But until you're there, and it's the same for Julie and I, you can't quite appreciate the enormity of the place. And the only place I can compare it to, from the point of view of the feeling I got, was when I went to a concentration camp in Berlin. You understood the enormity of what had gone on there, and it was just so quiet and eerie. And come on, Azra, keep going, come on. She's been a bit sniff this morning. Yeah, you understood what had happened in sort of both these places. And the tour we did was just so interesting, and you sort of got a bit more of a up close and sort of personal account of what happened on that horrible day. And I'll never forget sort of going there. And you know, thank you to the tour guide who sort of explained stuff to us. You know, make you sort of understand a little bit more of what had happened, and sort of maybe a bit more of the sort of backstory of some of the sort of key sort of situations. You know, at the end of the day, we're just, you know, an English tourist going to visit essentially a mass grave site, but we are one world in that situation, and any person going there and seeing that and feeling that, you know, you've got to appreciate the enormity of what happened there. We did go up One World Trade to the top. You know, the views from there were spectacular. And then when we came back down, obviously the tour had finished at that point. We then went into the museum, which again, yeah, I mean, just going on to that, you know, it was, we did a lot of the stuff in Berlin when we were out there on a school trip. This is 1995, and you know, you just appreciate the enormity of what happened there in Germany as well. It was pretty horrendous, and even as a 15-year-old, way back then, you sort of understood it. And this is sort of why I didn't think it was wrong to take James to the World Trade Center site, really, because he was, what would he have been? What was he now? He would have been 12, almost 12, and even he understood it. And as I say, you know, he appreciated the enormity of it. And I'm just so pleased we went there, and, you know, can say that we've sort of paid our respects. And, you know, can't change what happened. You know, we can only do better in the future, can't we? And, yeah, it was just a very, very sad place. But the museum was just so eye-opening. You know, some of the accounts you're reading and hearing, you can't obviously video. Well, you can, but not everywhere. It actually says where you can and can't. And yeah, it's quite emotional actually, and that's the only word I can use. It's just very emotive when you go to a place like that. Come on, Azra, good girl, come on. And then when we came back out of the museum, we then sort of had another sort of walk around the plaza there and what have you, and yeah, it'll stick with me forever. And if I went back to New York, I would definitely go back there again, because I'm sure there's stuff that we didn't notice or didn't quite take in. Obviously, you had the survival tree there in the plaza, which is the only tree that was left, which they took away to sort of be brought back to health and have replanted. So yeah, it was. It certainly can be. Hate is a very driven thing, Obviously, I said I wouldn't get, political with this at the beginning, so I'm not going to. But at the same time, you need to understand what happened that day, and as I say, collectively, we must make sure it never happens again. Unfortunately, even in London, we had our own version of it, which at the time I had two brothers that worked in London. They don't now, but it was pretty scary at the time because you just didn't know what was going on. So Lord knows what it's like for all those families, not knowing, what was going on the day, and, it's just, it just doesn't bear thinking about, does it? To be honest with you, no. I've been up to, obviously, been to London, sort of been to some places there. We are possibly going to France next year in the car. I don't know, it's sort of a little bit up in the air. I'm not going to promise that because I just don't know. But if we do, we're going to go to sort of Normandy and some of them, sort of historical sites. But no, it's, I did a lot of stuff in Berlin on the school trip, as I said. And where we are in the east of England, there are a lot of RAF sort of bases around here. We've got Duxford, very close to us. So I've been there a few times. But no, apart from that, I did history as a GCSE at school, so I do find it all very, very interesting, and James is currently doing it as well as his GCSE, so obviously it's quite interesting sort of helping him with bits and pieces as and when he asks for help. But yeah, just concluding the sort of the 9/11 bit of the vlog, it was, all I can describe it to as we walked away, it was just quite a surreal feeling, as I've said, very emotive, and so pleased that we were able to go there. But never forget, yes, it's one of the things, what do they say, the top 10 tourist things to do in New York now, but just remember what happened there, and when you go there, take it in, because come on, Azra, let's cross. It is a very, very powerful place, and I'm so pleased that they've done what they've done as a tribute to all those people as well, because we must never, forget, because if we forget, we then sort of lose our way, I think, sort of to stop these things happening again. So yeah, also it's very deep this morning, but it's a very, very deep sort of place when you go there, and it makes you think about a lot of things in life and what's important and what isn't, and that's the only thing I can say about that, really. I'm not always the best at expressing myself, but that was a very, very powerful and emotive place, and as soon as you go up those steps, anyone that says differently, I think, will be telling you a fib. It is a very, very surreal sort of feeling as you go up those steps. Azra, come on. So yeah. Right, let's go quickly, come on. A few cars about this morning, Azra. Right, okay, so let's carry on. Hopefully, if you haven't heard all my sort of memories of the day, and obviously going there, sort of watch back on the live, because you know it is quite interesting having a perspective from, quite frankly, a foreigner who was there, who was just a tourist when we went to visit. As I said, we are just one world, aren't we? So never forget. As I said at the beginning, just a normal day at work. And then I don't know whether I've got to go out with Julia later or not. But yeah, we've got to go do the old normal Tesco shop, so I don't know whether she's going to go straight from work or whether she wants me to go. I don't think she's decided yet. I'd prefer her to go straight from work, because this weekend, apart from doing some bits and pieces in the garden, we've got a relatively quiet weekend, thank goodness. As I say, since we've been back from the cruise, every weekend has been full on. I need to try and get my neck right as well. So I've been sort of, I think I've sort of slept awkwardly or leaned or something, and it's absolutely killing me. And that's been for a few days now. So I'm hoping to sort of try and do the old hot and cold, try and sort of ease that a little bit. There's Azra with her landing light on. So if you've been with me the last few mornings, you will know now that we're doing a completely different walk than what we were doing, and this is purely and simply because now we're just, I say, losing the light. Also, even with the lights Ashra's got and I've got, they're just not good enough, you know, when we're over the field. So that's why we're doing these strolls now. I say this one was a bit different this morning, purely and simply, as the title would suggest. Just my little sort of tribute and memories of the 9/11 day, and then obviously going to the museum and the memorial plazas. Yeah, so I think we are going to go up to where we normally go, to the white cottage in the distance, which you can't see because it's dark, and then we'll go around the science park as normal. What's everyone else's plans for the weekend? Has anyone got any plans, or is it just a chilled out weekend for everyone as well? We will be doing the normal live stroll. It will be a lot a lot later, should I say, sorry. Probably be sort of 6, half 6. I'll see, because obviously on a Saturday morning, although I haven't got anything planned for the weekend, I have still got to go and do a couple of errands for Mum before I sort of come back home. So probably be, yeah, sort of 6:15ish. And then Sunday it will be later again, probably 7, something like that. Give myself a bit of a line. And we got a bit more light, natural light, which would be great, wouldn't it? Don't have to use spotlights and landing lights. If anyone else who's watching has been to New York or more directly, sort of the 9/11 memorial, let me know your sort of memories of the place. As I said, I sort of shared mine. You know, I'll just reiterate that when you come into the sort of memorial plaza, where the pools are, and you come up the stairs from the sort of the metro, the underground, it's just such a powerful feeling, only really rivaled, I think, in my experience, and this is only my experience, of going to a concentration camp, the feeling you got of the enormity of what happened there. Quite a feeling, and one that I'll never forget. You know, bear in mind I was 15 years old when I went to Berlin, and I was 43 years old when I went to New York. So sort of coming up sort of a 30-year difference, but the feeling is exactly the same. And unless you've sort of been to somewhere like that where you understand the enormity of what's happened, I don't think you can appreciate it, to be honest with you. You really don't. The loss of a loved one is a very powerful thing, and unfortunately, I'm sure we've all experienced that. But sort of that sort of situation, as I've just described, some people might have known people there, and I'm sure they clearly did. So it's a different feeling, I would imagine. But just going there as someone trying to appreciate, the enormity of what happened, it is a strange, emotive, powerful feeling. It really is, and one that I'll never forget on both counts, as I said. So we are now heading up towards where the science park is, where we will have a bit better light down this sort of back road. It's not brilliant, although as you can see it's now getting light, but obviously nowhere near the sun coming up yet, so we are still using our light. Now, she hasn't been yet, so I'd imagine Azra is going to go at the loo in a bit, so probably in a few secs I'll have to just put the phone down. I can read her like a book. I know exactly when she's going to go. And I reckon it'll be any time soon. Oh dear, so there's the science park. We've got better lighting in there, which we'll be to in a few moments, and that'll sort of wind our way back towards home. If you are new to the channel, do make sure you're liking and subscribing and hitting the bell button. It does really mean a lot to the channel. Right on cue, guys. Right, just bear with me. Just look up for a few moments. Wait, Azra. Oh, right. Sorry about that, guys. I am back. So we are just following Azra's landing light for the minute. So there is light on the other side here in the science park, which we'll have in a minute. So as I say, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the stream this morning. Enjoyment may not necessarily be the best word for it, but have been interested in what I've had to say, because I do think sort of first person perspective, or first person's perspectives of not only the day but also going to the memorial, I find very interesting, because everyone reacts to situations differently, and I've watched a lot over the last few days, and I just felt watching it from afar is a totally different perspective, isn't it? So yeah, it's something I felt I wanted to do. And pleased have had a chat about it, and there's been a bit of interaction as well, which has been nice. Come on, Azra. Come on, Azra. Good girl. Now this way, Azra. Good girl. Right, here we go. She's back. Didn't realise you were looking at my ugly mug the whole time. Well, it was dark down there, so I put you, I didn't put you off too much. Anyway, yeah, so we are winding our way back to home now. Nothing really interesting happened yesterday, to be honest with you. It was just a normal day. Busy yesterday, and things sort of happened really in the last hour yesterday, which in my particular job is usually the way. To be honest with you, you sort of have sort of bits and pieces to do during the day, but the mornings and the evenings are the busiest time by far. So yeah, it was, and it was quite busy. I think between 5 and past, sort of I think 4 or 5 customers come in, and it's sort of one after another, which is nice. It takes that last half an hour quite quickly. And as I said before, I like to get it all done before I go, so other people don't have to sort of mop up for me, if possible. So yeah. Anyone else got any plans, as I say, for the weekend? Anything exciting? Ours is a very quiet one this weekend, as I've already said. If you are new to my channel, or should I say our channel, the family channel, primarily me, do like and subscribe, hit the old bell button, you'll know when we're live again. As I say, we will be doing another live tomorrow morning. It'll be a bit later, as I say. Probably be starting around 6, 15, 30 latest. I'll try and put maybe something on there, a schedule, if it'll let me, because it's been playing up the last few mornings, hence why there hasn't been a schedule on there. And I've been doing these for some while, so I know how to do them, but YouTube's just been playing up. We are getting ever closer now to the magic first sort of YouTube goal they want you to get to, 500 subscribers. 15 away now. You know, we had another good week for subscribers. Hopefully today, tomorrow and Friday we'll have another big push. So as I say, do make sure you like and subscribe if you can. It really does help the channel. This is a hobby for me, as I've said. I will probably never get to a point where it is making me any money, which I don't care, because I do it because I enjoy it, not because I want to earn money out of it. I've got my everyday job as well, and these people that have got thousands and thousands of subscribers, fantastic for them, and they clearly have a lot more time than I have. But I enjoy what I do in the mornings. I enjoy it when it's lighter, I will admit. But we make the best of it. So, as I say, we'll have some far better lights in a bit, but we will be winding this up shortly. Come on, Azra. Azra, come on. So just coming up to the entrance and exit of the science park, just to our left here. As I say, if you are just joining up now, do make sure you are liking and subscribing. Come on, Azra. Do make sure you are liking and subscribing. It does really mean a lot to the channel. But I think for now, guys, try and have a good day, whatever you're doing. It is Friday, so hopefully it's the end of the working week for most. And we will catch up tomorrow. Cheers.